Welcome back. Let's jump right into part 2 of my easy to follow Crochet Octopus tutorial. Hi, I'm Minnie from This and That Minis. Thanks for joining me.
Alright, we're going to get started on the underbelly here, so grab your navy blue yarn or whatever color you chose to work with. Start with a magic ring, same size F hook, and single crochet 8 single crochets in the ring. And 8, giving that tail a good tug to close that circle. The single crochet in the first single crochet from the first round. Placing your stitch marker in that first stitch. This is a round of increases. Place another single crochet in that same stitch that's on the stitch marker. And that counts as your first 2 single crochets. Increase in every stitch around 2 single crochets in each stitch for a total of 16 stitches. I'll be back in a moment when we're at the stitch marker. And place 2 single crochets in that last stitch. Place a single crochet where your stitch marker is. Which counts as your first stitch of this row. This will also be a row of increases. That's your first stitch. We need an increase in the next stitch. 2 single crochets in this stitch. One single crochet in the next. 2 single crochets in the next stitch. That is your repeat. 1 single crochet in the next stitch. 2 single crochets in the next. I will meet you back at the stitch marker. And place 2 single crochets in that last stitch for a total of 24 stitches in this round. And a single crochet where your stitch marker is. Counting that stitch as your first stitch, we will place another single crochet in the next stitch. 2 single crochets in the next stitch. One single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And an increase 2 single crochets in the next stitch. That is your repeat. 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Followed by an increase 2 single crochets in that third stitch. Continue this around to the stitch marker, and I'll be back in a moment. And place your last 2 stitches in that last stitch. And that'll be a total of 32 stitches. Removing your stitch marker. And place a single crochet there. Now we're going to attach this to the bottom of the octopus. like so, right on your last row of the periwinkle. Cut off your blue yarn with enough tail to sew on. I'm going to use about 24 inches. We're going to pull that yarn through your loop on your hook and giving it a good tug. Removing your stitch marker and getting your yarn needle. Now when we go to attach this onto the octopus, you don't want to bring your thread all the way through of deeper blue mixed in with these blues here. I'm going to take just the first stitch inside here, and I don't know if you can see it, but we're going to place this navy blue in between the second to the last and the last row of the periwinkle blue here. That would be right before you started increasing here. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just grabbing that inside stitch and yeah, so it can't be seen there. You don't have to grab every stitch, just enough to attach it. If you want to grab every single of those 32 stitches, that's fine as well. Whatever you're comfortable with, I'm probably going to go with every other. That will attach it securely, just fine.
And if you have any questions, please comment below. I'll answer in a timely manner, and I'd really love to hear from you.
And do much the same as you get closer to the eyes. It's a little trickier. I'm coming up on one now. To just tuck that in. And grab an inside loop. You really got to work your way around these inside pieces of yarn, but we can tuck those in later. They keep trying to move along with what you're doing here, and it is a bit tedious, but just keep moving them out of your way and continue on. As you're nearing the end, leave a good section open here in case you need to stuff a little more in there. And you most likely will. I can see that I'm going to need a little more. I'm going to do a couple more stitches and then I'll add some more stuffing in there. Move that all around so it's in there evenly rather than in one big lump. And I think that was just the right amount there. And so I'll just continue attaching that underbelly onto the head here.
Continue sewing through the stitches, and I'll meet back up with you at the beginning.
And that finishes up the underbelly part of the octopus. And as you can see, I didn't I didn't end up with any stitches along the outside here. So get all these loose ends out of the way and we'll tie this off here. There, I had to get my loose ends out of the way. I'll just grab a couple loops here of the navy. To make a knot with. I don't know how much of this you can see, but... And then I'm going to poke this right through the head. Just to where you can't see it. There we go. And then we'll cut that off, being careful not to cut the pink. And then giving that a poke in there. That should hide your ends. This next section will get rid of all these loose ends here. Do not cut this yet. We're going to need that soon. So continuing on with your navy blue yarn, start with a slip knot. This is going to be a bit tricky as well. Let's find a non-tricky spot. Grabbing the outside loop of your underbelly, placing that slip knot on your hook, pulling it through that loop, and chain one. We're going to do that with each stitch around. But because it's the underbelly and we're just covering up all of this, all these increases, and hiding all this yarn inside here of this rim here before we continue on with the tentacles. So we just need that row of as close to 32 stitches as you could get. We're just creating a ridge to where we can increase on the next round. And now that we're getting far enough into this that it's creating a little lip here, and that's where we'll crochet our increases, just as we did this round here. And that's why I say just come as close to 32 stitches on this round as you can. It's not gonna matter much, especially if you're using the Red Heart Navy, as that is a size 4 weight and this Lion brand was a 3 weight. It'll all work out in the end. The only thing you're going to be seeing is this part of the guy. This underbelly is going to be hid for the most part, so continue on until we get back here to the beginning of this ridge here, and I'll see you then. Okay, finally got that done. We're going to place a single crochet in the first stitch of the round, finishing off that round. Place your stitch marker. Now this will be a round of increases. Counting that first stitch as 1. We'll do a single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And an increase in the next stitch. 2 single crochets in that same stitch. A single crochet in the next 4 stitches. and an increase in the next stitch, placing 2 single crochets in that same stitch. That is our repeat, 4 single crochets in the next 4 stitches, followed by an increase in that 5th stitch. Continue that on all around until the stitch marker, and that's where we'll meet back up. I will put an increase in that last stitch, 2 single crochets. Single crochet where your stitch marker is. And this will be a round of increases as well. This counting as your first stitch, the stitch on the stitch marker. So there's 1. We'll place a single crochet in the next 2 stitches.
My apologies for being off camera there. I am so sorry I didn't realize it sooner.
Followed by an increase in that 3rd stitch. Single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And an increase in the 4th stitch. That is our repeat, 3 single crochets in the next 3 stitches, followed by an increase in the 4th stitch. Continue that repeat all around until you get back to the stitch marker, where we'll meet back up again. And finishing up your round here, placing a single crochet where your stitch marker is. Which counts as your first stitch of this round. This round is also a round of increases, so we'll place 1 single crochet in the next stitch, followed by an increase in the next stitch, 2 single crochets in that same stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in the next stitch, followed by an increase of 2 single crochets in that 3rd stitch. That is our repeat, single crochet in the next 2 stitches,
And an increase in that 3rd stitch.
One single crochet in the next 2 stitches, followed by an increase. Continue that repeat all around until you get back to the stitch marker, and that's where we'll meet back up. And place your last 2 single crochets in that last stitch. We're going to pull up on this loop, but not cut it off or tie it off yet. We should have 64 stitches or close to, in the ballpark of at this point. As long as you're close, it doesn't matter. We're going to go back to your loop, which mine is a like an aqua bluish green color. And we're going to crochet these 2 closed. So as close to this stitch that's on your hook into the underbelly color through both loops of that stitch. We're going to do a single crochet. And a single crochet in each of the stitches of the top and the bottom, all the way around. And as you come up on these tie-ins from the previous rounds, just tuck them on inside those 2 layers all around, hiding them forever.
Continue single crocheting those layers together, and I'll meet back up with you when we're finished. Okay, we need to cut that navy blue yarn,
leaving a good 4 to 5 inch tail, and pull through that loop on your hook and give that a good tug. You can thread your needle and just poke that on through your work and come out any old random place. Give that a good tug to pull it tight. Pull up on your yarn a little and cut it off. And then pulling up to hide that in there good. Reshaping.
and now we'll work on placement for those tentacles.
Counting from your stitch marker, over 8 stitches, place another stitch marker.
In that 9th stitch.
Counting 8 stitches over, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Place a stitch marker and continue doing that until we get back to the original stitch marker here. 8 stitches in between the stitch markers, and I'll see you in a moment.
If you had a stitch or two too many, or were a stitch or two too short between those last 2 stitch markers, try not to worry and stress over it. I was 2 stitches short somehow, so I doubled up and placed 2 stitches in 1 stitch, here and there while crocheting the tentacles. If you found you are 1 or 2 stitches over, simply skip a stitch here and there while creating the tentacles. This is an easy fix and can't be seen in the finished project.
But let's get started on a tentacle. If you have enough yarn of this color that's on your hook now, if you just have a smidgen of that color yarn, you're going to want to cut that off, tie it, and get another color on that you have quite a bit of yarn. And I think this amount of yarn will be enough for the first tentacle.
The first color of the first tentacle.
If that gives you an idea. Anything less than this, go ahead and cut off and grab another chunk of yarn of your liking from the skein that you've got quite a bit left of. I'm going to stick with this aqua green here that I have on the hook. Getting started on that first tentacle, we're going to make a chain of 50. $49 and $50. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to place a single crochet in the next chain from your hook and a single crochet all the way back down the chain, back down
to the body.
Single crochet in each stitch. And I will see you in a moment. And coming up on our last 2 stitches of the tentacle, go ahead and place a single crochet in each of those stitches. and place a single crochet in the first stitch of the round here. And another single crochet
in the next
single crochet of this round. You're going to turn your work, single crochet in the first stitch of the tentacle here. Don't confuse this first stitch here where you single crocheted into the round. Skip that first stitch and crochet in what looks to be the second stitch. And single crochet in each stitch on up the tentacle for 35 stitches. Now if you don't want to count each stitch, you can count 15 stitches down from the end. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 15. Place a stitch marker and then you could just crochet freely without worrying about your stitches. Single crochet in each of the single crochets of the tentacle on down to your stitch marker.
And I'll be back in a moment.
Removing your stitch marker and place a single crochet where that was. Chain 1 and turn your work. Place a single crochet in the first stitch from your hook and a single crochet in each stitch on down the length of your tentacle. I will do those stitches off camera and meet back up with you at the end of the tentacle. And then a single crochet in that last stitch of the tentacle. Place a single crochet in the next
Single crochet
in the round of the body here.
Now this would be a good place to skip a stitch or double up a stitch, as we talked about earlier.
And we're going to change colors at this point. So cut your yarn, leaving a 4 to 5 inch tail. I'm going with this periwinkle blue here. Start with a slip knot. Place that on your hook and pull them through that loop of the previous color. Pull all your yarn tight and tie those loose ends. Now we're going to weave those on into the body. So thread your yarn needle and right between those two layers make sure it's not poking through on either side here, and poke your needle through a random place on your body, the body. There we go. With this new color here, we're going to crochet into the next single crochet here on the round of the body. Turn your work, getting that tentacle in front of you. Place a single crochet in that first stitch of the tentacle. Place a single crochet in each single crochet from the previous
row
on up the length of the tentacle up to the 25th stitch. And like before, if you don't want to keep track of your 25 stitches, count 5 down from the end of your last row. Place your stitch marker and then continue on with your single crocheting. And I will do these off camera and meet back up with you at the stitch marker. And a single crochet where your stitch marker was. We're going to chain 1, turn our work, and place a single crochet in the first stitch from your hook. Continue the single crochet in each single crochet from the previous row all the way back down to the tentacle. And I'll be back in a moment. And a single crochet in that last stitch. We're going to come down here and place a single crochet in the first single crochet of the round of the body. We're going to change our yarn, so cut leaving a 3 to 4 inch tail. And I went with this lavender yarn next. Start with a slip knot, place on your hook, giving it a tug, pull through that loop on your hook, and tugging on all your ends here and tying off your loose ends. Like before, we're going to hide those on into the head. So thread your needle. And poke on through between the 2 layers, making sure it's not poking through. And poke through a random place in your head there. Giving it a gentle tug while holding on to this rim here. And they're hid. Place a single crochet in the next single crochet in this rim of the body here. Turn your work and place a single crochet in the first single crochet of your tentacle. Place a single crochet in each single crochet of the previous row of your tentacle. And if you don't want to count those, as before, count down. This time it will be 8 stitches from the end of your previous row. And place a stitch marker in that 8th stitch. And now place a single crochet in each stitch for the length of the tentacle. I will meet back up with you at the stitch marker. Removing your stitch marker and place a single crochet in that last stitch. Chain 1, turn your work, and place a single crochet in that first stitch from the hook, placing a single crochet in each single crochet from the previous row. Do that all the way for the length of the tentacle, and I will meet back up with you at the beginning here at the body. And a single crochet in that last stitch of the tentacle. Place a single crochet in the single crochet of the round here. And another single crochet in the next single crochet of the round. And there's your first tentacle. Color choice is yours if you want to do every tentacle that looks like this or switch off colors, as I am going to show you in the next tentacle. Or you can have tentacles that are all the same color, just one color all around. That is totally up to you. We are not going to switch colors on this next tentacle. Just a chain of 50 as before. So each tentacle, the last 2 rows of tentacle, we will bring around with 2 single crochets into the body here and a chain of 50.
In that same color. So crochet that chain of 50 and I'll be back in a moment.
49 and 50. Turning your work, place a single crochet in that first stitch from the hook. We're going to single crochet in each stitch on back down to the body.
And I'll meet back up with you there.
And a single crochet in that last single crochet from the previous
row.
Single crochet in this next single crochet of the body, and we're going to change colors here. Cut off your yarn, leaving a 3 to 4 inch tail, and I'm going with this darker pink next. Start with a slip knot, place it on your hook, pulling all the ends tight. Pulling that through the loop on your hook. And then tying off your loose ends here. Getting your yarn needle. We'll hide those on into the head.
As previously shown. I'll be back in a moment.
Placing a single crochet in the next single crochet in this round here, the round where your stitch markers are. Turning your work and placing a single crochet in your first single crochet of the tentacle. We're going to place a single crochet in each of the single crochets from the previous round. And like before, we can go on up. If we don't want to count each single crochet, we can count down 5 from the last stitch of your previous row. And place a stitch marker. Now we can continue crocheting and no worries of losing count.
I'll be back in a moment.
And one last single crochet. Chain 1, turn your work, and place a single crochet in the first stitch from your hook. Work a single crochet in each single crochet from the previous row until you get back down here into your tentacle to your body here. I will do those off camera and see you in a moment. Place a single crochet in your last single crochet of the row and a single crochet in the next single crochet of the body here. And we're going to change colors for the last 2 rows of the tentacle and the first 4 rows of the next tentacle. I am choosing this light pink. And if you're wondering how I'm choosing my colors, I'm just going by how they came out of the skein in the first place. Start with a slip knot. Place it on your hook and whoop. Place on your hook and pull all those loose ends tight. Pulling through that loop on your hook. Let's tie off our ends. And then let's hide those ends on into the body.
I'll do that off camera and see you in a moment.
Single crochet in the next single crochet in your body. And turn your work. Single crochet in the first single crochet of your tentacle. Placing a single crochet in each single crochet down the length of the tentacle. And like before, if you don't want to count each individual stitches, count down from the first stitch of your last round, down 8. And place a stitch marker. And single crochet in each stitch down the row. I will meet back up with you at the end of the row. And a single crochet in that last single crochet. Chain 1, turn your work, and single crochet in the first chain from your hook, and place a single crochet in each single crochet from the previous row on back down the length of your tentacle. I will see you in a moment. And a single crochet in that last single crochet of the tentacle, and a single crochet in this single crochet from the round of the body. Now don't cut off your yarn and change colors here. Single crochet in the next single crochet of the body, and this is where you'll make that chain of 50. Now this is how you make your tentacles. Continue on for a total of 8 tentacles. Remembering the last 2 rows of your last tentacle should match your first 4 rows of that first tentacle. Like mine is this aquamarine blue here. So my last 2 rows should also be this. And that last tentacle is finished. Place a single crochet in the last stitch of your round. Cutting off that thread 3 to 4 inches long, and then pulling that through the loop on your hook, giving it a tug, and then we'll hide it on into the body. So thread your needle,
And I'll meet back up with you when finished.
and that finishes up our tentacles. All right, let's get started on the tentacles. We're going to need 11 pony beads for each tentacle. So first thread your yarn with 11 of the beads. I will continue placing the rest of those off camera and meet back up with you in a moment. Okay, I have all 11 beads placed on my yarn. I'm going to move those down quite a bit. We don't want those in our way just yet. So starting off, making a slip knot and making a chain of 46. And 46. Turn your work, place a single crochet in the first stitch from the hook. Another single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So there's 1 and 2. Pulling up 1 bead, we're going to crochet that in now. We're going to make sure that is on the underside of our tentacle here. Place your hook into the next stitch and crochet as if that bead isn't there. I like to hold down the bead with my finger, grabbing your yarn, pulling through, then giving the yarn a good tug. We don't want that bead wiggling around down there. And then finish off your single crochet. Single crochet in the next 4 stitches. Three and 4. Grabbing another bead and do just as before, holding that bead close to your work, whichever way is comfortable for you. Place your hook into the next stitch, grabbing your yarn, and pull through that first loop. Give everything a good tug and finishing off that stitch. Single crochet in the next 4 stitches. Move the beads on down your yarn if you need to. And then 3 and 4. Pulling up your next bead. Single crochet that bead onto the back side. Giving that a tug and finishing off your single crochet. We're going to finish single crocheting all the way down, back down to the end of the tentacle here. But first start off by placing 6 single crochets in the next 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Grabbing a stitch marker and mark that 6th stitch. And do the same, single crochet in the next 6 stitches. And 6. Grabbing another stitch marker, mark that 6th stitch. Pushing your beads back down the yarn again, if you need to. Single crochet 6 and mark with a stitch marker. And 6. Single crochet 6 and mark that with a stitch marker. And 6. Place that last stitch marker and single crochet down to the end of your row in each stitch of the previous row. And a single crochet in that last stitch. Chain 1, turn your work, push your beads back if need be, and single crochet in each stitch up to the stitch marker where we'll place another bead. So remove your stitch marker, and now we need to place this bead on the top of the tentacle as we turned our work. So now these beads are facing up. So grabbing one bead, we'll do the opposite. Place your hook behind that bead. Place your hook into the next single crochet, holding onto that bead with your thumb, pulling tight. You're going to go up underneath that yarn and pulling through that stitch, giving it a good tug to make sure that bead is tight on your work, and finish off your single crochet. Single crochet in the next stitch and in every stitch up to the next stitch marker. Removing that stitch marker, getting your next bead, getting that bead out of your way, come up and around that yarn and pulling it up through that stitch, pulling your yarn tight, holding it with your thumb, and finish that stitch. Single crochet in each stitch up to the stitch marker and continue as before. Remove your stitch marker, pull up a bead, hook behind the yarn, placing it through the next stitch, hold the bead with your thumb, coming up and through that stitch. Pull the bead tight and finish your stitch. Crochet up to the next stitch marker and finish like before. Single crochet in each stitch up to that last stitch marker. And that's where we'll place that last bead. Okay. Now we're going to count 15 down from the top. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. That's where we'll place a stitch marker. We will crochet up to that stitch marker. Single crochet in that last stitch, chain 1, turn your work, and single crochet back down to this bead, which will be 6 stitches.
Or whichever stitch is directly across from that bead from the previous row. It may be 5 stitches or it may be 6, whichever is straight across from the bead from the previous row. Mine was 5 this time.
Grab your bead, and again we're going to place it under. So place your hook into the next stitch. Grabbing that yarn and pulling through. Pull those tight and finish your single crochet. And you have your 2 suckers for your tentacle, or whatever those are called. Single crochet on down to the next stitch.
Or down to the bead, I should say.
Get another bead, pulling it up. Place your hook into the next single crochet from the previous round. Pulling that yarn through that stitch. Pulling the yarn tight and finish off that single crochet. And continue that on down the line. I will be back in a moment. Okay, I've just finished placing that last bead on the tentacle. So we'll single crochet in these last stitches down to the end. Chain 1 once you're at the end and turn your work. Single crochet in the first chain from your hook, and we're going to single crochet in each stitch on down the tentacle until 5 from the end. So I'll place my stitch marker there and count down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So single crochet in each stitch down to that stitch marker. I will see you then. Okay, so here we are at the stitch marker. Place your last single crochet where that was. Chain 1, turn your work. Place a single crochet in the first stitch from your hook, and in every stitch on down the line. Single crochet in each stitch until we get back down to the beginning. I will meet back up with you then. Okay, I'm coming up on the end of the tentacle here, placing my last couple stitches. And because this 4-weight yarn is bigger than the 3-weight yarn, this is the end of the tentacle. Cut your yarn, leaving about a 6-inch tail for sewing onto the body of the octopus. Pulling that yarn through that loop on your hook and giving it a good tug. This finishes your tentacle. Go ahead and make 7 more of these. I will meet back up with you then. Alright, so let's get started with attaching the underside of the tentacle to the uppers. I chose this darker mint green for our first color of the outline of the tentacles and what we're going to attach them with. The reason why I chose this color for these 2 tentacles is because neither one of these, the outer edges, is in this color, just to create a contrast. And I'm going to do 2 tentacles in the same color before switching colors. So turning your octopus over, placing your tentacle, lower tentacle, up onto the body where the underbelly meets the darker blue of the lower tentacle. Placing it like so, and getting a stitch marker, placing it on the edge that doesn't have any of these steps. By steps, I mean when we crocheted, we switched colors, chained 1, and continued down our row, creating these little steps. So we're going to place that stitch marker on that tentacle on the straight side where there are no steps. And we will crochet on the opposite side of that stitch marker. So start with a slip knot. Placing your hook 3 stitches from the end of the lower level of your tentacle, and also the first stitch of the top layer of your tentacle. Place that yarn on your hook, making sure it's tight, and pulling through both those layers, and chain 1. You could crochet this tail along with your work or set it aside and just tuck into your tentacle later. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to lay it aside and tuck into the tentacle once we're all finished. Place your hook into the next of both layers and single crochet. We're going to do that single crochet in each stitch up to that first step. There's only one of these steps on the upper layer of your tentacle. As the bottom layer, we skip those last 2 rows. We're going to stop 5 stitches before the first step here on the lower layer. As you're going to notice, there's more stitches on the top layer. We're going to double up the stitches, and by this I mean place your hook into the same stitch we just crocheted and into the next stitch of the upper layer. Single crochet through both layers. Going to double up again, placing your hook in the same stitch of the lower layer and into the next stitch of the upper layer. And that should bring us to the point there. No mistakes were made. It also is going to create a curve in the tentacle. Rather than just having straight tentacles, we're going to have a little bit of curve which looks a lot better than tentacles just hanging. I think so. Here we are in the corners. We're going to place 2 stitches in the corners, in that corner stitch. And then 1 stitch in that chain 1 steps stitch there. And a single crochet in the corner. Single crochet through both layers in the next stitch. Single crochet through both layers in the next stitch. Now we're going to do a double up, single crochet. We're placing your hook in the same stitch of the lower layer and the next stitch of the upper layer. Single crochet through both layers in the next stitch. Single crochet through both layers in the next stitch. And we're going to do a double up stitch again, placing your hook through the same stitch of your lower layer into the next stitch of your upper layer. And then 2 stitches in that corner stitch. If it doesn't match up exactly, no worries. Just crochet like we have been before and placing 2 single crochets right in the corner. And same as with these coming up on these step stitches. If you don't need to double up like I did, if the stitches match up, then just continue placing a single crochet in each of the stitches of the previous round. Going back to where we were, placing a single crochet in that chain stitch or chain 1 stitch. And a single crochet through both layers of the next stitch. Single crochet in the next 3 stitches through both layers. And now we're up to the corner, that last step stitch of your upper layer. We're just going to work that right on in, as we don't have one in your lower layer. So a single crochet through both layers, next stitch. Single crochet in the next stitch of your lower layer, and we should be up to the chain 1 of your upper layer here. Single crochet in the next stitch of both layers. We're going to do a double up stitch with placing your hook in the same stitch of the lower layer and the next stitch of your upper layer. single crochet in the next 3 stitches, both upper and lower layers. And another double up stitch, placing your hook in the same stitches of your lower layer and the next stitch of your upper layer. Single crochet, single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And then one last doubling up, placing your hook in the same stitch of your lower layer and the next stitch of the upper layer. And then a single crochet in each stitch down to the end. There's your last stitch of the row. We're going to place 2 single crochets in the very tip through both layers. Pull up a loop. Untangle your work and turning your work. And what all those double up stitches are doing is it's creating a curl in your tentacle. I have some loose ends as I tied some yarn together. Just tuck any loose ends on into that tentacle. Placing your hook back on your yarn and continue on. A single crochet in each stitch in the next 15 stitches through both layers. That should place us down around where the 3 beads are. Should place us right around in this area. No worries if you're a little long or a little short. It's all going to work out. Each tentacle may or may not be different. It's all going to be fine. No one's going to know, and you're not going to be able to tell the difference. But we are going to crochet down the length of this for 15 stitches. I'll meet you there. Be back in a moment. Now, as you're crocheting along, you might find that each tentacle is different, that you may need to place those double up stitches in different places than I showed you. It's okay, and don't worry too much. Place those double up stitches as you need them, whether it be the top or the bottom. Each tentacle will be different, like I said. Have fun with it, and happy crocheting. Okay, well, here we are with all 8 tentacles finished. Now we'll tie off all these blue ends here. I found it easier to sew those than to crochet. So thread your yarn needle on one of the long
tails
here. And we'll attach this end of the tentacle onto the round of the body here. So going up under one of those stitches, but not all the way through to the other side. We don't want that navy blue to show on this side here. So you'll see the navy blue stitch here. We're going to pull that up. And up underneath and through that tentacle stitch. And into the next stitch. And the next. And then on up into that last stitch of the tentacle. We'll come on over here to this next tentacle here and just run your needle through that last stitch where the tail is attached and pulling that tight. Now with your tail that's on your needle and the short tail of the tentacle you just finished, tie those off. There we go. We're cutting the tails to the same length. And we're going to hide those on up into that tentacle we just finished. Making sure you're not coming through to this side. We don't want that navy blue to show. Give that a good tug. And then cut off if you have any sticking through. And there we go.
And sew in those tails for the other tentacles, just as we did for the first one.
And now here we are with the bottom part all finished. All those ends are hid. And our finished octopus. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. I think it turned out pretty good for my first time. This is my pattern. Go ahead and use it as you wish. If you make a video from this,
I only ask that you mention me and my channel, and please subscribe and share. Check out my channel and watch this video next. Thank you.